Personally, I think I have been left shocked by all these experiences. I have not been able to totally get over them. I am psychologically traumatized. I resent more those psychological wounds weighing more on me than all the tortures. I call these psychological wounds schizophrenic syndromes. When you come out of a story like this, you want to talk. But people don't want to listen to you. They don't want to listen to you because it is really difficult to hear and also to understand. So, in front of this reality, which is yours, you have another reality, a reality where your reality is not heard. And then you feel that you are going crazy. You say to yourself, I am inventing a reality for myself. There you really feel that you are becoming schizophrenic. This is what I have felt for years and years. Probably I didn't speak sufficiently enough. I shut myself up. This is what happened at the exit of all the historical passage where fascism created these traumas in population. There have been these schizophrenic syndromes. I repeat, for me, it is necessary to raise awareness about this problem together. It is if you came from having an accident on the road, and you find people to tell them, a truck ran me overhead, and they are not interested. Even the denial of the Chilean public organisms that have had fascist attitude on purpose. No, that did not happen. This denial reinforced the denials of the civilians. I have had psychological damage, and I am beginning to overcome it by starting to speak when I wrote my book only in 2008. But now, due to the fact that this exhibition exists with the labor models, with all these testimonies, this has allowed me to talk about this, to recover from the delay in talking, communicating. Well, that left me psychological damage, but not just to me. All of this was a terrible shock also for my family, for my ex-wife, for my two children. Without going into details, they also suffered a lot from this situation. And so a new family was created, which allowed me to turn all those black pages. I have a Chilean side, my real Chile, which lasted 10 years, nothing more. On the other hand, my life abroad since I left Chile is much longer. I have more of Africa in me. I have lived longer in Africa, the Soviet Union, Mozambique, Angola, Algeria, Spain, more than I have lived in Chile. And I was able to integrate myself into another struggles of countries that also wanted a better world. I lived in the Soviet Union in the years 79, 80, with a rather peculiar situation because I was a student of the Institute of Marxist-Leninism that depends on the Central Committee of the Communist Part of the Soviet Union. Me, as a guest, as a co-opted member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Chile. So we had all the resources for our disposal. Rooms, meetings with simultaneous interpreters for all languages. We were there just to study all day about political, economical problems. I had an apartment, but it struck me because I had already started to study income inequality in different countries and I came to the conclusion that in the different socialist countries of the time there was as much inequality as there could be in the advanced countries of Europe, such as Denmark, Sweden. It was equivalent, the same Gini coefficient. Well, of course, in these countries, it is the business owners who have the largest share of pie. In the Soviet Union, it was the high officials, the high apparatchiks, with 2, 3 country houses, dachas. Niet panimai, Marxism, Stalinism means I do not longer understand your Stalinism, Marxism. With stores where you could go to, not for everyone, to buy in dollars. There you go. I saw how the Soviet system was beginning to rot. I will never forget it. One day, we had a free talk given by a senior official. Senior official in the Russian Foreign Ministry. A free talk with a lot of hindsight from far away, one that takes really a lot of hindsight. Look, this is socialism, this is the Soviet Union, etc., etc. This is what this guy tells us, that socialism cannot advance anymore further. When we say advance, it is to advance against inegalities. That is what we are talking about. And he says, I think maybe one day we will have to get out of socialism. I was in a group where there were 10 Chileans. They did not hear this. It was so grotesque that this couldn't get through their ears. And he said that perhaps the solution to get out socialism, it will be necessary to use the same example of Pinochet. The world collapses under my feet. I had great disappointment. It was not always Pinochet's fault, but it is just to tell you about them. I met the first president of Mozambique, Samora Machel. He left Algeria to assume his responsibility as president. And for 2 years, he entrusted me with the office in Algeria, which was financed by the Algerians. The Mozambicans had no money. On Independence Day, there was only one doctor left for all the Mozambique. So I was Mozambique's ambassador for all the North Africa and for Europe. And I stayed to live in the apartment of Samora Machel, and I lived in what corresponded to the embassy of Mozambique, financed by the support of Algerians. And it's quite heartbreaking to see how this all fell apart. They killed him a few years later. Likewise, I cannot forget all the stories of Agostinho Neto. He was the first president of Angola. He died in the Soviet Union after a long illness. And then Algeria, this country that had an African socialism. Although factories were state-owned for the benefit of all and not for the pockets of the president. But all that, with the death of Boumediene, was the death of Algerian socialism. And they threw me out of Algeria because I was too in league with the Boumediene apparatus. This is all too much. I have accumulated in terms of disappointments. Let's not talk about Chinese disappointment. All this great country, in any case, its leaders have been interested in creating multinationals, in collusion with multinationals to become the workshop of the world for the benefit of the international capital and in their own interest. All they care about is getting revenge on the West for trying to colonize them 200 years ago.
Ils veulent
They want to crush the West via the economy.
C'est terrible de voir ça.
It's terrible to see this.
Quand j'ai été au Lébou,
When I was in the Lebu,
plus d'une fois,
more than once I dreamed
d'être
that
dans
I
un
was
bateau
on
de
the
croisière
cruise ship
ou dans un voilier,
or on a sailboat,
au lieu d'être
not
obligé
being
à être
forced to be in the prisoner ship to be tortured
pour aller à des tortures.
and having to listen
Et
to
avoir à
see
s'écouter
yourself
brader
roar
la douleur.
in pain.
J'ai rêvé,
I dreamed.
on a le droit de rêver.
We have the
Et
right
puis voilà,
to dream.
moi,
And then here we are.
j'ai la
Now
possibilité
I have the possibility.
près d'un
I
lac,
live near a lake, and we have the possibility. I dream it to go on a sailboat ride with my friends, with former political prisoners tortured on the Lebu. So you are all invited. If you pass through France, 200 kilometers from Paris, 10 kilometers from my house, to do a symbolic turn, a maritime turn of liberation. It is my ghost.
peut-être vous avez
Maybe
d'autres
you have
mieux,
a better ghost.
mais moi je suis là.
I have this one.
Il y a cette tarte,
To this cake,
on a rajouté une
we had
cerise
the cherry.
qui est la
That
trahison
was the
de mon père
betrayal,
et de
the
ma mère.
treason of my father and my mother.
Pourquoi je
Why
parle de trahison?
am I talking about treason?
Je vous raconte.
I'll tell you
Moi,
that
étant prisonnier,
I was still a prisoner in Valparaiso,
sous les griffes
under the
des
clutches
officiers.
of the fascist officers,
Mon père, un
when
grand
my father, a great fascist,
fasciste avec des armes,
a fascist with weapons in hand,
il a été à
came to Valparaiso with my sister.
bien tardivement,
This
avec ma
I
sœur.
knew very late.
Il a
He
demandé rendez-vous
requested
avec
a
les
meeting
officiers.
with the officers
Il a
and
déclaré
told
aux
them
officiers que lui,
that he had
il faisait un
a
triangle
romantic
amoureux
threesome
entre
between
lui, moi
him,
et une fille qui
me,
s'appelait Angeles.
and a girl named Angeles Armenteros.
Et que c'est
And
comme
that
ça
it was
que j'ai eu des idées
through this
marxistes dans
that
la
I
tête.
had Marxist ideas while I was a professor of the
Bien sûr,
officers.
elle,
Of
on l'a
course,
fait
she was
prisonnière, on l'a
imprisoned,
torturée. Elle
tortured,
a fini
and ended up
exilée
in exile
au Venezuela.
in Venezuela.
Mais pourquoi il a fait ça?
But why did my father do that?
Parce que
Because everything that
tout ce qui lui
had
est arrivé,
happened to him,
on lui a
that his
exproprié
land
des
was
terres,
expropriated,
il a déposé
then
le
he
bilan, etc.
declared
Il trouvait que c'était
bankruptcy,
ma faute à moi,
all that
que
he
je ne suis pas
thought
intéressé
it
à
was
Sud-Afrique,
just my
que
fault. The land
terres
had
lui avaient
been
été
stolen because
volées grâce à
of
moi.
me.
Comme quoi, c'est moi qui
Absolutely
avais été-
not.
rien à voir.
I was
C'est dans
just
un
a
mouvement comme
militant
ça, il y a eu la
within
réforme
a
du
broad
George,
movement.
Donc,
So
lui,
he
il
took
a,
an
contre moi, il a pris
absolute
une haine
hatred
absolue.
against me.
Donc,
If
si
they
j'étais
jailed
emprisonné,
me,
il fallait
it
que
was
je
because
paye.
now
Voilà le
I
but de
had
son voyage.
to
Mais
pay.
attention,
Here,
le
the
but de son
real
voyage,
purpose of
c'était
this
d'inventer
prison to
des
Valparaiso
mensonges.
was to invent
Pourquoi? Parce que
everything,
cette fille
nothing but lies, because it was my
C'était mon
father
père qui
who
lui a
was
acheté son
buying
appartement.
an apartment,
Parce que mon
because
père
my
donnait de
dad
l'argent
owed money
à son
to
père.
her dad.
C'était des
They
Basques.
were Basques.
C'était un ancien
Her dad
employé de mon
was
père.
a former employee
il
of my
remboursait en
father,
payant
and so he paid
l'appartement
back
de Viña del
paying
Mar.
the Viña del Mar
Et avec
apartment. With this manipulation,
On a
he
plus rien
had
payé.
nothing more to pay.
L'autre, il a dû s'échapper. Et puis non,
It's enough. You have to be
il faut être très vache
too rotten
pour faire un
to
truc comme
do
ça.
something like
Même
that.
si c'est mon père.
Even if it's my dad.
Il y a des...
There are
assassins
murderers.
qui font que l'opinion-
There are children who have the right to say, I have a murderous father. This is the reality, no matter how shocking it
Il n'y a
is.
pas eu que ça.
It wasn't just that. There was more.
Tante,
I had an aunt,
une tante, une
a
grande
great aunt,
du côté de ma mère.
on my mother's
C'était
side.
son préféré.
I was her
C'était
favorite.
son préféré
I
parce
was
que
her favorite because no one was going to see
personne
her
n'allait la voir
because
parce qu'elle était
she was
mal vue.
frowned
Elle avait de l'argent,
upon.
mais elle était mal vue.
She had
Parce qu'elle
money,
avait un
but
tout
she
petit peu
had
de sang
some
indien.
indigenous blood.
Et elle,
Nobody
personne n'allait la voir.
happened
Moi,
to see her,
j'allais la voir
but
toujours.
I
C'est pour ça
happened
que
to
je
see
faisais
her a little.
son chouchou.
That's why I was her favorite. She once had a leaky garden water tap. I went to change the gaskets so that I would not leak more. As I fixed it, she would break the tap again so that I would see her again. She was 80 years old, and she called me, "You can come." It was a game. She was a rascal. Then she left me her big house and all her savings. She died, sadly alone, in 1974, a year after the coup. She died in another Chile, and my fascist father went to her deathbed to make her sign against her will in order to leave everything in the name of my sister. They just stripped me properly. Years later, I returned to Chile with the evidence of all this. It was difficult for me to collect them, and my sister told me, "And there you are. The 30 years have passed. There is a statute of prescription." I am sorry, but my mom and dad's family was an indecent family.